Most people never think about wheel lugs until they try swapping rims and suddenly realize nothing fits. One car has 4 lugs, another has 5, trucks often have 6, and heavy-duty pickups can have 8 or even more. Then there's the spacing itself, where 2 wheels can look almost identical but still refuse to bolt onto the same car. It feels unnecessarily complicated at first, especially when so many other parts in the modern world are standardized. So why do cars have different numbers of lugs and spacing? There's actually a long engineering story behind why wheel patterns vary so much, and it comes down to strength, safety, weight, manufacturing, and the different jobs vehicles are built to handle. Let's dive into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. The number of lugs on a wheel mainly depends on how much force the vehicle is expected to handle. Smaller economy cars usually have 4 lugs because they're lighter and place less stress on the wheel hub during acceleration, braking, and cornering. Most passenger cars use 5 lugs because it provides a stronger and more balanced setup for heavier vehicles and higher speeds. Trucks and SUVs often move up to 6 lugs because they carry more weight, tow trailers, and experience greater stress on rough terrain. Heavy-duty trucks can use 8 or even 10 lugs because they need extra clamping force to safely support massive loads. More lugs help spread forces more evenly across the wheel hub, reducing stress on each individual stud and improving durability over time. But the number of lugs is only half the story. The spacing between them, called the bolt pattern or pitch circle diameter, matters just as much. A wheel labeled 5 by 114.3 means it has 5 lugs arranged around an imaginary circle measuring 114.3 millimeters in diameter. Even tiny differences in spacing can make wheels incompatible. A 5 by 112 wheel may look almost identical to a 5 by 114.3 wheel, but the studs won't line up correctly. Manufacturers use different spacing because wheel hubs, suspension geometry, brake systems, and axle designs all vary between vehicles. The spacing has to match the exact engineering requirements of the car, otherwise the wheel may not center properly or handle load safely. Another major reason for different lug patterns is vehicle evolution over time. Car companies rarely redesign wheel hubs unless they absolutely need to, because changing a bolt pattern affects manufacturing tools, wheel suppliers, brake components, and even dealership inventories. Once a manufacturer commits to a pattern, it often stays for decades across multiple generations of vehicles. That's why some brands continue using unusual patterns that seem outdated compared to competitors. In many cases, companies simply keep reusing proven designs because changing them would be expensive and unnecessary. A lot of modern lug patterns are basically inherited decisions from engineering choices made many years ago. Brake size also plays a surprisingly important role. Larger brakes need larger hubs and more space behind the wheel, especially on performance cars and trucks designed for towing. As brakes become bigger and more powerful, manufacturers sometimes adjust lug spacing to accommodate stronger wheel hubs and larger mounting surfaces. That's one reason why sports cars with high-performance brakes often use different patterns than smaller commuter cars. The wheel mounting system has to survive repeated hard braking, sudden impacts, and high cornering loads without loosening or warping over time. Lug patterns are designed around those stress levels, not just around making wheels interchangeable. There's also the issue of weight distribution and rotational balance. Engineers carefully position lugs so the wheel stays centered while spinning at highway speeds. Even slight imperfections in fitment can create vibrations, uneven tire wear, or extra stress on suspension parts. That's why wheel patterns must match exactly rather than close enough. If a wheel doesn't sit perfectly flush against the hub, the studs can bend under pressure and eventually fail. Manufacturers design lug arrangements with very specific tolerances to keep the wheel stable during years of driving under different road conditions. What seems like a simple pattern of holes is actually part of a precision safety system. Interestingly, not every vehicle even follows the same philosophy when choosing lug counts. Some companies prioritize lighter weight and fuel efficiency, while others prioritize durability and towing strength. Racing vehicles sometimes use a single center lock wheel nut instead of multiple lugs, because pit crews need extremely fast tire changes. Meanwhile, off-road trucks may use larger 6-lug or 8-lug setups because rough terrain places massive stress on wheels and hubs. Even within the same manufacturer, different platforms can use different bolt patterns simply because the vehicles are built for completely different purposes. There's no universal design because there's no universal vehicle. So, while different lug numbers and spacing patterns may seem random, they're really the result of decades of engineering decisions shaped by safety, strength, cost, performance, and practicality. Every wheel pattern reflects what a vehicle was designed to do, whether that's commuting through city streets, hauling heavy cargo, surviving off-road trails, or reaching high speeds safely. Standardizing every car to one universal wheel pattern might sound convenient, but it would force completely different vehicles to compromise on their engineering needs. In the end, those little metal studs are doing far more work than most drivers ever realize. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.